How has being a mom been?
Being a mom is it's crazy that I am a mom. Like, I don't know how that is. Like, I know I grew her and like she is my child, but I just don't feel like a mom.
Yeah.
But I love her so much, and I feel like she's getting to an age where it's just so much fun. Like, she's like crawling around and like pulling herself up, and oh my God, I could get emotional. But like sitting down and like doing my makeup, and she's like going through all my makeup is just like one of the best things.
Oh my gosh.
And like having a daughter is something I always dreamt of. Like, I feel like a lot of guys like want a boy. My husband and I just really wanted a girl. And so it's been like everything we dreamt of and more, but yeah, no sleep.
Yeah, I know. Taylor really wants a girl too. And I'm like, that's nice. I kind of want a boy, but I think I want a boy because I would be like too obsessed with a girl. Don't get me wrong. I would love my child no matter what. But
people always seem to like find a reason to hate. Like, if you want a certain gender, I'm like, okay, I'm over it.
yeah, no, I just feel like I would need to match every single, it would just be over the top.
I'm not a pink girl. I'm not like a polka dot or pattern girl, but like the second she popped out, it was like pink bows, like ruffle this, like polka dots, cheetah, like she makes me a huge girly girl, but I'm not a girly girl.
Yeah, I love that. How was your pregnancy?
I loved being pregnant.
Aww.
I loved it so much. The first trimester is like not easy for anybody. I was exhausted, and then my husband ended up moving, and like I had to do a few appointments alone. So like that kind of made me sad. I feel like the only thing about my pregnancy were my emotions. Like I cried so much, but I also feel like I was like in a weird life stage where we were moving to Vegas or moving to California or whatever.
Yeah.
But I loved being pregnant. I tell my husband all the time, like, if he didn't want more kids, I would probably be a surrogate, but we do want more kids.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be a surrogate.
I know. I like growing up, I'm an only child. So like I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to have 5 kids and like just have like this big family. And then I went to nursing school and I watched a birth. And I went home and I said, honey, I'm not having a child until I forget what that looks like from that angle. So we're going to
I had a C-section. So honestly, like I've seen like the graphic scenes of a C-section, but I loved my C-section. I was listening to like my Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
It was Christmas music. Like it was enjoyable.
I think that's what I have to do, especially being a planner. I need to like plan. One of my good friends, she has 2 kids and they were both C-sections, and she's like, I brought my lamp, I brought my Barefoot Dreams blanket. I like went in, had my little speaker playing, and
it's exactly that.
Yeah.
I think that like God knew like my life had been so chaotic. He was like, let me just give you one concrete thing. And that's like the birth of your child. But it's exactly that. Like the night before we went out to like Mastro's and like had like a celebration dinner, and everyone's like, oh, like what are your weekend plans? I'm like, I'm having a baby tomorrow. And the morning of, like I got ready. We're listening to music in the house. The house was clean. It was so perfect. And then I had my hospital stay. Like everything was great. So I highly recommend a C-section.
Yeah. And that was planned for you, or did you need to have one?
She was breech.
Okay.
So I knew she was breech from like 30 weeks on. So I tried doing everything possible to get her to like twist, but she was a 9-pound baby. So she wasn't moving. She was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I really want to try the like natural, quote unquote, whatever that means. I really want to try the other way, which I guess you can after one C-section, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Because if I like went through all of like labor and stuff only to get another C-section, I'd be like, oh, was that worth it?
Yeah.
Because I loved my C-section.
No, I'm curious to see where that leads you next. Cause it's such like I don't know. I feel like birth and all of the women's things is like everyone has so many opinions, but everyone is so different. And like every pregnancy is different. Every birth is so different. Like I have friends that literally first child just popped out. Other friends like completely tore, needed C-section, just like every possible thing. So
pregnancy and labor are, well, there's a lot of opinions around it. And 2, there are so many different experiences. Like no experience is the same as anybody else's. So when I tell people I love being pregnant, they're like, oh, like, are you bragging? Like, sorry. But I mean, watch, I'll be pregnant next time and like be throwing up, and I'll call you and be like, never mind. Like scratch that.
Don't get pregnant.
Take the podcast down.
I changed my mind.
Right.
How was postpartum for you?
So postpartum has been a journey. I feel like there's been a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. And I mean, it's the biggest hormone change anybody goes through in their life, so it makes sense. But I also feel like the fact that our identity has been so focused on football, and then my husband got like released from his job, and then I gave birth, and then we were moving, and like I feel like once, because we moved to Texas for like 3 months and I hated it, but when we moved there, I feel like I got to a point where I was like, oh, fuck, I don't like that. Like, sorry if I can't swear on this one.
You can't.
Okay. I was like, oh, I do not like this. And it made me so sad because I'm like, I don't want to ever associate any part of like me being sad with my daughter's birth. So I feel like I have to take them out of each other because I'm like, I'm not sad because I have a daughter. I'm not like sad that I'm a mom, but like me finding myself outside of being a mom. Like I'm totally fulfilled being a mom, but am I fulfilled in like what I want to do in my life outside of being a mom? I don't know if I have the answer to that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like there's so much pressure to like bounce back and be happy. And they're like, okay, well, she's only, I told my doctor, I was like, yeah, I'm like feeling really sad. And he was like, well, she's only this young once. So like get it together. I was like, okay.
What?
Yeah. So yeah, doctors are like great at gaslighting you. And you're like, you're supposed to know everything. But yeah, it's been a journey. I went on antidepressants for a while. I just got off of them and I'm like, I don't know if they actually worked because I feel the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. I know. I feel like it's so hit or miss with medication and like trying to find like the sweet spot, the dosage and the one that works and everything. But a lot of my friends that have had children and the whole like postpartum of it all, depending on, you know, there are some great doctors out there, but majority of the time you're handed like a pamphlet on postpartum and like, that's it. And then you're sent home and then you're left to your own devices of thinking that you're like literally going crazy.
Absolutely.
And like, I feel like I had the smallest glimpse into what that could look like. I ended up not on purpose, but I went off my birth control because I ran out and then it was didn't have a gynecologist. It was just this whole thing. But for like 2 weeks, I was so just upside down. Couldn't tell you left from right. Just was, once I figured out what was going on, it like made me feel a little bit better. But I was like, I thought I was like spiraling into like the deepest, darkest like depression ever. And like the fact that just me going off of like my birth control could do that, birthing a child and like going through 9 months of being pregnant, sometimes a very traumatic birthing experience, and then having to like raise a child and going through all those hormones, like the fact that there is not more like preparation and stuff done,
and I feel like help, I think, and honestly I feel like if I were to like point a finger at anything as to like why I felt the way I did, other than like my hormones and going through a huge life change. Yeah. I just feel like I had, which I'm not a planner, but I had an idea of what my birth would look like and what becoming a mom would look like. And I just pictured, okay, I moved to Vegas. Like we had our crib, everything set up and like a room. And then my husband loses his job and I'm like, okay, so now we have to move. And then I end up having a C-section. I'm like, okay, like that's fine. And then I got re-hospitalized 2 weeks postpartum. And I was forced to leave my baby overnight for the first time at 2 weeks. And then I was allergic to a medication. I got like a post-op infection. And so then I was forced to be on a medication that I wasn't able to breastfeed on. So I'm like, okay, now I can't breastfeed. And then my daughter stopped latching. I'm like, okay, great. So now I guess I'm just in a pump. And then we move and I'm like, okay, I'm moving away from all my friends and like all of these changes. And I'm like, and I'm a mom. Like this is so crazy. And like, I'm still trying to figure out like what kind of mom I am and like what I like as a mom and like what kind of like, what do I want to follow? And I feel like all those changes just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And that's when I got to a point in Texas and I was like, we need to get the fuck out of Texas and move back to California. Cause I was like, I don't know if I'm going to survive here. Yeah. I mean, we were all away from all of our friends and family. I don't even know. I mean, I know why we moved to Texas. Cause we were like, oh, like we don't have anything keeping us in California, but just like now I just associate home here. Yeah. Even though we don't have like a huge friend group, I'm like, this is just home. Yeah. So oof. A lot of changes.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And a lot of, I feel like my next birth will be totally different because I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should just schedule a C-section and just know everything is going to be like the. I mean, you can't plan it out that much, but hopefully it's better.